Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today, talking all about the trouble that Monday Night Raw is in for this upcoming Monday and SmackDown for Tuesday. Monday, Raw is in Tampa, while Tuesday, SmackDown is in Miami, and there's going to be some trouble brewing because Tropical Storm Erica is moving in and going to be hitting more than likely the Florida coast this weekend, and WWE is going to be wanting to be hell out of town, and hopefully all the families that live down in that area, they're thinking about getting out of there as well. But as of right now, the storm would be hitting on Monday, and there's no way in the world that these families that bought tickets to go to these shows are going to be wanting to attend these shows. So hopefully WWE is in the process of trying to find a place to move Raw and SmackDown to, because it'd be hell to lose one show, but it'd be really weird in order to lose Monday Night Raw and your SmackDown tapings. You would lose your main event. You would lose your um, superstars. I'm really not sure what they can do. I think a lot of the news stories that people are reading are people jumping off of bridges over this, thinking that it's a casualty to WWE not to be able to have this. But first and foremost, you got to think about the people who actually live in these cities and the things that are going to be happening to them with this storm coming in. Hurricanes, rip up places and they tear them up, and missing Raw or missing SmackDown is the least of these people's worries at this point. But if you go back and you think about this year's Royal Rumble, the night after was Monday Night Raw, which was held up due to a storm in that area where they received tons of snow. WWE moved their production to the actual WWE studios in Stamford, where they shot Monday Night Raw with a lot of interviews. They showed I think they actually showed the Royal Rumble match, with it not being held on actual pay-per-view and it being held on the network. It wasn't a big loss to them. I'm sure that some people bought it on pay-per-view and they felt pissed that the next night it was on free TV. But I think in the WWE Network world, I think most of the wrestling fans just watched it there, and if they don't have the network, they got the free gift of watching it, and then they got interviews with Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Dean Ambrose was a big part of that show, and that was helping him evolve into becoming a bigger star than he is now. But other past things that have happened, of course, everybody's going to think about the Chris Benoit edition of Monday Night Raw, where the news came out that he had passed away. So Vince actually canceled Raw and put on a Chris Benoit memorial episode of Raw. With friends and coworkers, wrestlers, telling Chris Benoit stories and showing his greatest matches throughout his career. And about partway through the show is when the word was starting to come out that the people were putting the story together and actually figuring out that Chris Benoit wasn't a victim. He was actually murdered in his house, and things were not going to be looking good for him in the future. Instead of having a lot of egg on that face on a memorial show for a murderer who had killed his family. Um, you think about the playoffs a few years ago with the NBA. I think this was 2009. It might have been 2010. The Denver Nuggets had booked Monday Night Raw on a Monday for a live show, only to find out that their playoff run in the NBA had not ended, and they politely asked WWE to move their show. WWE said, "Hey, we've paid you to be in the arena." One thing leads to another. It ends up being a huge pissing match between the owner of the Denver Nuggets and Vince McMahon. Vince ends up going to LA, putting Monday Night Raw in the Staples Center, giving free tickets out to the show, basically making people come and have a live audience. They actually turned into this Nuggets versus the WWE into a big angle for the Monday Night Raw show, which ended up being the last show that Mr. Kennedy actually worked for WWE when he worked, I believe, the 10-man tag. When the 10-man tag was actually guys, the baby faces were wearing Laker uniforms, the heels were wearing Nugget uniforms, and it ended up being a huge deal. WWE was being talked about on Sports Center, and I know that we just got done with SummerSlam covering. I'm sorry, Sports Center was covering SummerSlam, but for them to be covering WWE Monday Night Raw in 2009 was a pretty big deal for Vince and Cena and everybody else. That's a big part of it. You can also remember back to, I believe, 2010. Jack Swagger, I believe, was champion at the time. of the SmackDown brand, and the Monday Night Raw guys had toured over in Europe for the week, and because of volcano ash that was in the air, the airplanes weren't allowed to fly. The guys weren't allowed to fly back to the States. It ended up being Monday Night Raw SmackDown edition with Triple H kicking off the show. I believe they had an Undertaker versus Swagger match that's very memorable on there. But fun times, we'll have to see what goes down with Monday, but it's going to be weird. I'm hoping they'll be able to scrap something together. I don't know if they're just going to want to put SummerSlam on Monday Night Raw, seeing how we've already had the post SummerSlam Monday Night Raw. The Royal Rumble fix was probably good because of that one-time deal was the night after the Rumble, so they just put the Rumble on there. But I'm hoping that they're able to find a new venue and a new area and able to put the show on, and we don't miss any Monday Night Raw.